Good morning. My name is Alec Harris,
And I'm Diane Posey.
and we will be the co-chairs of today's press conference. We are leaders with United Power for Action and Justice. United Power is a Cook County-wide organization made up of 40 religious and civic institutions. We have leaders here today from all corners of our county, members of the Mosque Foundation and Council of Islamic Organizations of Greater Chicago, members of Chicago Sinai Congregation and BJBE Synagogue, members of the Southwest Organizing Project, and members from Episcopal, Roman Catholic, Lutheran, and other congregations throughout the county. United Power is an affiliate of the Industrial Areas Foundation, the nation's largest and longest-standing network of local faith and community-based organizations. We have 70 affiliated organizations throughout the U.S., the UK, Germany, Canada, and Australia. And today, we also have leaders from our sister organizations in Milwaukee, Boston, and Connecticut. We are so glad to have all of you with us here today. The Industrial Areas Foundation builds citizen power organizations that make lasting, constructive changes in the lives of our communities. For the last 75 years of our organization, we have been doing things that people usually think cannot be done at the start. We do not ask for others to devise solutions to problems. We suggest ideas and strategies to address issues experienced in the everyday lives of our members. That's what brings us here today to talk about our Do Not Stand Idly By campaign to transform the gun industry and save lives.
Good morning. So again, I'm Diane Posey, and I'm a member of Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in nearby Oak Park. Our church, yeah, there you go. Our church is a member of United Power. So when I was 3 years old, playing at a neighbor's house, the boy who lived there, also 3, found his father's gun. And he snuck up behind me thinking he was holding a water gun. Holding the gun to the left side of my head, just behind my ear, he pulled the trigger. The bullet exited just below my right eye. I spent my childhood in doctor's offices and hospitals, but I survived. Yes. I don't take that for granted. But since 1968, more than 1 million Americans have not survived being shot. A recent Washington Post article identified at least 43 toddlers involved in shooting incidents this year. The majority killed or injured themselves, the rest injured or killed another person. Just last week in Chicago, a 6-year-old shot and killed his 3-year-old brother with an improperly stored gun. Accidental shootings repeat themselves over and over, week after week, year after year. Enough is enough. For me, other than my neighbor safely storing his gun, there was nothing that could have prevented my accident. But it's different today. Today we know there's technology that exists that would dramatically reduce the number of accidental shootings. Today, it's time for the gun industry to transform. Today, it's time for the gun industry to save lives. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joelle Rodriguez. I'm an organizer with the Southwest Organizing Project, which is a member of United Power. This is important. This issue is important to me because, first of all, I have 4 children, 3 boys, and a little girl, and their safety is important to me. But also because of my own experience in my youth. At the age of 13, I joined the gang. It was a life-altering decision. This decision exposed me to unprecedented violence, and really I engaged in some very self-destructive behaviors. One thing was evident, that we had far too much access to guns. I saw some guns being swapped, sold, and bought. We even engaged individuals to make straw purchases for us. I was fortunate enough to make it out alive, and that is why for the last 14 years, I have worked with young people in communities throughout the city of Chicago. The sad reality is that not much have changed since my youth. There's still far too much access to guns, and we're still losing our young people to gun violence. Just last week, another young person was lost at the tender age of 15. Things need to change, and we are confident that our campaign will move us forward in the right direction. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Bennett, and I am the co-chair of Congregations Organized for a New Connecticut. I have come all the way from Connecticut to share in this ceremony, to share and to raise our voice with the millions of voices who extend their prayers and thoughts of healing for the families and communities devastated by gun violence in this country. I also come because a few weeks ago, right around the corner from the church that I've pastored for more than 21 years, a 17-year-old young high school student, promising student, was mistakenly sprayed with bullets from both gang and drug turf war. He was killed. I have done too many funerals of young men who were killed before they had a chance to live. We are here today to join the communities here in Chicago, in Bridgeport, in Newtown, in Columbine, in Aurora, in Roseburg, in Milwaukee, in Boston, all of us who cry out, enough really is enough.
Just after the Sandy Hook tragedy, in March 2013, at the synagogue where I am a member, United Power for Action and Justice launched a campaign called Do Not Stand Idly By. The phrase is a reference to the book of Leviticus, which calls us to not stand idly by the blood of our neighbor. The blood shed at the site of mass shootings, elementary schools, community colleges, public plazas, houses of worship, terrorizing our communities is unacceptable. 2,473 pools of blood shed, the total of dead and injured on the sidewalks of Chicago so far in 2015 alone, are unacceptable. 30,000 American lives tragically lost every year are unacceptable. And the tears and trauma of the loved ones, neighbors, and communities left behind are unacceptable. I cannot stand idly by, and we do not stand idly by. Our country has gun chaos. It's time for gun sanity. Do Not Stand Idly By is a national campaign led by the organizations of the Metro Industrial Areas Foundation, the nation's largest and longest-standing network of local faith and community-based organizations. We are for reducing gun violence. We are for keeping guns out of the hands of criminals. We are for safety, safety for kids, safety for cops. And we are calling for reasonable, practical, undramatic measures the gun industry can take today to make Americans safer. We have no illusions. This will not eliminate gun violence in our country. It will not eliminate criminals accessing guns. It will save lives. It will make it harder for guns to get into the wrong hands. It will create new possibilities for gun safety. We are here today because the people who have the most power in our country to make this happen will all be at this conference at some point today and tomorrow. The biggest buyers of guns and the gun manufacturers are here together. And yes, they can do more to stem gun violence in this country. The biggest buyers of guns, the President of the United States and the police chiefs. Together, they represent 40% of the guns purchased in the United States. This taxpayer-funded purchasing power must be leveraged to change the gun makers' deadly ways. The gun makers can better distribute their products in a way that ensures the utmost safety to American communities. And the gun makers can be given incentives to innovate and introduce new technologies, like every other consumer product industry in the world, to ensure their products earn respect and are sold not just for their lethality, but also for their safety. Thank you.
And so today, we are here to ask police chiefs of America to use their power, the power of their office, to do something about the gun violence in America.
The good news is that several police chiefs around the country, some of whom stand here today, have already taken action. In the last 2 years, Metro IAF has organized 80 police chiefs and public officials from jurisdictions around the country to demand answers from gun manufacturers about what they are doing to make America safer. And today we want to recognize those police chiefs who stand with us. Chief Frank Kaminsky from Park Ridge, Illinois, who is also president of the Illinois Association of Chief of Police. Chief Gregory Austin from Rye Brook, New York.
I want to recognize two of our chiefs of police from Connecticut. I want to ask that you join me in welcoming and recognizing Chief Michael Kehoe from Newtown, Connecticut. And our very own Chief of Police from Bridgeport, Connecticut, Chief Joseph Gaudette. Thank you for being here today and for leading the charge. Thank you. This time I'm going to ask Chief Kehoe if he would like to have a few words.
Good morning, everyone. Well, this is a great turnout, and that's what we need. This kind of forum, this kind of conversation, continuing on with this conversation with our gun dealers and our manufacturers. Without you, you're our hope. We want to save lives. As a government official, as a chief of police, as a police officer for 37 years, you see way too much trauma. You see way too much damage done to communities. This is where we start grassroots with you folks. Keep it up. We're here behind you. We're going to get more people on board, and we will make changes. Thank you.
My name is Greg Pearce. I'm a member of the leadership of United Power for Action and Justice. Our strategy is simple. It is direct and it is powerful. Our strategy is to follow the money. Who benefits from the violence, chaos, and fear that has been visited upon our nation? Who profits from the demand for more and more guns and more ammunition? Who provides most of the money for organizations like the NRA, whose purpose is to take spotlight off of them? Whose donations and sponsorships and exhibitor fees, who uses them to ingratiate themselves with the law enforcement agencies and the military? It is the gun manufacturers. And we have 4 of the worst of them here at this conference. They're here. Where they are is they're over in the exhibit hall. They paid a lot of money for access to the police chiefs. And 4 of them are in the top 10 of the producers of guns that have been recovered in crimes in Chicago. 1,200 a year are their guns of the 7,000 guns that have been recovered from these 4 manufacturers. So I want to introduce you to them. Okay, there's the chart, but I want to introduce you to the faces of the CEOs of these manufacturers. First is James Delaney of Smith & Wesson. Where's James? All right. Ron Cohen of Sig Sauer. Get it up there. Gaston Glock of Glock. And Ugo Barretta of Barretta. Now, the one thing that these 4 men have in common is they apparently don't care what is happening to our families, to our cities, to our communities, and to our nation, as long as they can make and continue to make more and more of their blood money that their companies seem to crave. Now, I'm going to prove this to you with this one here. A delegation from Do Not Stand Idly By went to Germany a year ago in March. And we went to the largest gun exhibit in Europe. And on the Glock booth, in English, was this sign. So we took a picture of it. Okay. But here's the important element I do not want you to miss. They're talking about how great their Glock guns are. And down here they say, Conquest of USA, New York Police Department. So they care about who the police buy because they use that as an endorsement of their products. And so the transition has to take place. Our strategy is simple, direct, and powerful. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it by using our buying power. You know who the biggest purchasers of guns in the United States is? We are. And we are going to demand now that our public officials, our police chiefs, our military procurement people are going to make it a criteria, 2 criteria. We're not going to buy your guns unless you do 2 things. The first thing is get a real budget for safer and more traceable guns and then produce them and sell them. And the second thing we're going to do is we're going to say you don't get our contracts for our guns if you're still selling your guns through places like Chuck's Guns, right down here about 25 miles. It's one of the worst producers of guns that is used, sellers, not producers, of guns used in crimes in Chicago. Beretta doesn't have to sell to Chuck's Guns, do they? Does Glock have to sell the Glock guns? No. Does Smith & Wesson have to sell? Does Sig Sauer have to sell? Well, then let's make sure that none of them do. Thank you.
Yeah, but okay, right now what we'll do, if Greg wants to come back up here and Alec, we'll take questions from the press. Any questions from the press?
Okay, more specificity about the reasonable message, things we're requesting. Okay, we don't want them to get a thing. So
We're asking for two things in particular. One is to build smart technology into their weapons. What that will do is it will keep the gun from firing if it's not from the owner. So what that means is fingerprint recognition, a bracelet, something. So, for example, even if a policeman has a gun, if someone takes that gun away from the policeman, it won't fire. It won't be able to be used in accidents. People won't be able to do things that way. The other thing is to get a handle on these nefarious rogue dealers that are about 1 or 2% of the dealers who sell most of the guns that wind up in crime scenes. Manufacturers have the power to stop selling those dealers like Chuck's Guns. They need to take act. They can do that today.
Well, as in the packet that you have, there's a request. Oh, what kind of reaction are we getting from police chiefs and other mayors and governors that we've talked to? So we have 80 who have signed on with us in agreement, police chiefs, governors, mayors throughout the country. It's interesting when we talk to police. We get a lot of positive response. They want their police officers safer. They're interested in smart technology, and they know who the bad dealers are. They want help, and we're here to help them.
And specifically, particularly in Connecticut, and I'm sure here and other places where we've signed up chiefs of police, we're able to engage in better relationship. So we're not combative with our police departments, but we're working in partnership. That's a positive difference.
the one place we have not, and this is relevant to our meeting here today, we have not gotten a response from Mayor Emanuel or from Police Superintendent Jerry McCarthy. And that we need them, and we're going to be pushing them to sign on for this plan, this strategy. The other place we want to make sure you understand is we're also going after the federal government that buys most of the guns. And they're right now trying to buy a new gun for every soldier in the U.S. Army, $580 million worth. We just had Senator Schumer of New York call on just last Friday for this strategy to take place. Before that, the federal government's going to spend $580 million on new guns, and the gun manufacturer who gets that contract is going to be able to say they're the official gun of the U.S. Army. Well, they're not going to be able to say that unless they do at least two things: produce safer and more traceable guns, and also quit selling to Chuck's Guns in Riverdale.
Any other questions? And we can also talk to you afterwards. So today we also want to thank the Chicago Police Department who helped us with this location and has been supporting us. And as Greg just said, we'd like their boss to get on board. And we need your help with that. We have information sheets that we will be passing around with an email address to Mayor Emanuel and to Superintendent McCarthy. Oh, phone numbers, even better. And we want you to call them today and tell them you support this strategy. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now I will turn it over to Reverend Kristen White and Reverend Otis Moss to conclude our press conference.
Thank you. I'd like to invite all clergy who are here present to come forward and stand with us, please, now. If you all could make room for our clergy to come through. The Lord be with you.
Also with you.
Let us pray. O God of unchangeable power, you call your people to prophesy. us to a word of truth in the face of fear, to a clear-eyed conviction when too much is confused. You call us to be holy even as you are, warning us, do not stand idly by as your neighbor's blood is shed. Strengthen us as we stand here now. Be with us as we stand together. God of matriarchs and patriarchs, God of prophets, apostles, and martyrs, help us to be strong and very courageous as we stand for a day when we all together will be holy and whole.
May your spirit rest upon us in such a way that we will no longer allow profit over people, markets over our morality, commerce over our conscience, and investment over integrity. May you, O God, allow our spirits to recognize the importance of our people and that our morality must go first, and our consciousness must be able to speak, and our integrity must be put forth. And so we thank you for this gathering and what shall come in the future. We do not stand idly by. We stand together and let this circle not be broken, that we may serve all of humanity. And those who've gathered in this space may collectively say, Amen.